Let's see here. And with those announcements having been made on the record, Mr. Bale, you're the plaintiff. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Fowler, you represent defendants in this case. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Bale, it's your motion. You may go.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's really pretty simple, Your Honor. On August 11, I served the defendants with first combined written discovery, one set to Schlachter Oil and Gas Limited, one set to Schlachter Petroleum LLC. Those responses would have been due back in September. Here we are, February of 2021. I still do not have answers, any kind of answers to any of that written discovery. Just asking for an order compelling the defendants, each of the defendants individually, to answer plaintiff's first combined written discovery.
By individually, there are, as I recall from the pleadings, 2 corporate defendants. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
And so by individually, you mean each corporate defendant file their own response to the discovery?
Correct. They were each served with basically identical written discovery, but they were served on, one was served on the limited partnership or the LTD, and the other was served on the limited liability corporation.
All right. Anything else?
I believe that's it. I just asked, I have a proposed order. I just need to know that the timeline within which the defendants are ordered to produce full and complete responses. If I had had to drive to Gale today, well, I would probably ask for attorney's fees, but since we're able to do this over the internet, not even going to ask for those at this time.
All right, Mr. Fowler.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is going to be the, I have to admit, I thought this was a status conference. I'm not sure why, but I wasn't notified that this was a motion to compel hearing. However, I don't think that's going to change anything because Mr. Bale actually is owed the discovery that he's asking the court for. This is Mr. Bale's client wants a reassignment. There was a lease in this case that they're owed an assignment for because the lease lapsed for lack of production. This Mr. Bale's client has a section of a larger unit, and I agree, Mr. Bale's client, to the extent that he needs one, we would be more than happy to sign a quit claim or a reassignment of any reasonable form that Mr. Bale would like to send me, or if he'd like me to draft it. I would assume that reassignment would end this case, since that's what Mr. Bell is asking the court for. However, if it doesn't, then what I would ask the court is perhaps, give my client 10 days. And then if we haven't satisfied Mr. Bell's client, we would go ahead and produce the documents he's asking for. But there really is no dispute here, Your Honor. Mr. Bell's client is entitled to exactly what he's asking for. There was an issue because this was a larger unit. There was a plugging liability issue that my understanding is going to be solved this afternoon. And right after that happens, my client will be, he'll be ready, willing, and able to sign that. I guess it would be a reassignment, Mr. Bale, but whatever form it takes, we'd be happy to do that, Your Honor.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Jerry. I think the problem is this is part of a bigger unit. My client owns a small tract of land that's in a bigger unit, and what you had suggested before is that you would assign the lease to him, and he doesn't want to take any responsibility to plug these 2 wells.
Well,
so,
and I hear you, Mr. Bale, and that is the problem that we think we have solved today. Is that plugging liability issue. I know your client was concerned about that. We have another entity that's gonna assume that plugging liability. And of course, I'll send you a copy of that P4. And then I would assume that with that P4 and with a reassignment, that your client would then, there'd be no dispute between our clients at that point.
Well, then, for the purpose of this hearing, Your Honor, can we just make these discovery responses due 30 days from today? If we don't have an agreement or whatever, then I'll just
And
request.
we would agree to that order, Your Honor.
All right. So ordered.
I'll submit an order. It'll have the discovery due, whatever 30 days from today is, and submit it in just a little bit.
All right, and Mr. Bell, while we're here, if the court doesn't mind, if you could send me a copy of the form of assignment that you'd like, so I could get it to my client, or if you have some suggestions for me how I should draft it, well then, perhaps I can get that to you later today.
Sure. And, we've been Terry Sterling is the oil and gas attorney that's helping me with this. So I'll probably have Terry Sterling contact you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. Anything further?
That's it.
No,
For
Your Honor.
plaintiffs, Your Honor.
You're welcome. We're in recess.